Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Thinkin and Drinkin, here on A Bit Too Much to Think. This first episode is with my good friend, Jon Dolezal, who's been a friend of mine for almost 5 years now. He and I don't necessarily disagree politically in many places, but we hope to have a very good conversation, and we are going to be tasting some whiskeys as we go. So, without further ado, hello Johnny.
Hey Sam, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Alright, so the first whiskey we're trying is the Jameson Caskmate Stout Edition. We also have the IPA edition to try. So, cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, you can kind of get like the chocolatey,
Yeah.
coffee-esque like overtones in that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's smooth too, which is nice.
Has an oaky afterbirth.
This has a bit of an oaky afterbirth. Michael Scott. Truly a legend.
There is never an inappropriate time to quote The Office.
No, actually, there really, I don't think ever is. This is kind of a retake of our first one because, with the exception of, I think, the first 20 minutes, we didn't really capture... We tried to do a whole podcast together. It was like an hour and a half, and we only captured the first 20 minutes. So, because my battery died on my recorder. So, we're kind of redoing this one. And last time we had a pretty good conversation, I think, about the 2018 elections. And so I think it's a good idea to talk about, the fact that a bunch of the people that got elected just got sworn in. So what are kind of your initial reactions on it? Some of the stuff that you've seen? What do you think?
I think this was a very, instead of like political election, I feel like it was very social. So for example, like here in Minnesota, we just had the first, correct me if I'm wrong, but the first Muslim congresswoman elected. Is that true?
Yes, there were two Muslim Congress people elected,
and one of them is from
Minnesota.
Okay, so you have that, and then you have the thing the thing I've seen the most of is a bunch of pictures of, look at all these women. This is the most amount of women in any, or this is like the most amount of women in Congress that we've ever had, I think, in history, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
So I think I've seen a lot of stuff like that, but it's not... I haven't seen one damn thing about their qualifications. It's all... And this is what drives me insane, is people like... I mean, it's great that women are... Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know if it's even great because we don't know what their qualifications are. We just know that they're women and people elected them. That's like when Justin Trudeau, like, he actually put 50% of his cabinet, he made them female just because he said they needed to be female.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what about... Yeah.
When he was asked why, he just said, it's time. Yeah. I think that's something that's a serious issue and that's the thing where... Well, basically, just to kind of preface it, it's like, if a woman wants to be in Congress, that's great. She should run for Congress. But you should be thinking about the person's qualifications, not just, like, whether they have X chromosomes or Y chromosomes. Mm-hmm. Like, the person's gender should not really have an effect on who you vote for. You should just be voting for well, that kind of gets into why you vote, but you should be voting according to your best understanding of who can best either represent you or best run the country. I mean, that's really how it should be.
Yeah, instead of, like the great Martin Luther King Jr. said, you should judge people on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And that also goes along with their gender, or whatever, of the 70 that they identify with nowadays, But,
oh, no, there's infinite.
Oh, yeah. Sorry for everyone out of those 70.
My God, you are just such a bigot, Johnny.
It's just a cisgendered white male.
Yeah, I know. How dare you have immutable characteristics? You want to dive into the IPA edition, Caskmates?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, the stout one, you actually taste like the...
Yeah, when you said chocolate,
coffee.
I was
Like
blown away at how...
Here, pour how much you want. You can finish it if you want.
Okay.
I don't like IPAs. I much prefer stouts, so I don't know if I'm going to like this one as much, but...
I'm actually not a beer guy.
Okay.
So
that's right. You're more of a wine person. I found that
wine out. And hard liquor, yep.
Yeah. I am whiskey and beer. Because for some reason I'm Southern, but my voice hasn't figured that out yet.
I don't know what that makes me European.
Probably.
Like, shit.
Go away, you socialist. Okay. Yeah, no, so I think that's very accurate, that people really weren't basing it on a lot of people were not voting based on qualifications or even ideology. One thing, so there's a couple different things about these people getting put into power and getting sworn in, is the two Muslim people that got sworn in, they were sworn in on Thomas Jefferson's Koran, and I saw a lot of tweets of people just saying like, oh, well, you know, this is such a great day, even Jefferson supported Islam. What's really funny is that Koran is what Jefferson read when he decided to send America into our very first war on the Barbary Coast.
Yep, with the Tripoli pirates.
Yes.
Yep. There's a great book about that.
And what's funny is that Jefferson read it to understand whether or not these people were really, like, whether their ideology was capable of peaceful arrangements. And if you read some of the letters he sent, he basically just said, yeah, I've read their book. It's not great. And that's basically his statement on it, which I find really ironic, because then, you know, these people are saying, oh, well, look, it's beautiful, it is progressive, and it's like, you're missing the point. Jefferson read this and then said, these people are not, like, compatible with the United States, which might show that maybe he was wrong. I will admit that maybe he was wrong, but I think it's very ironic, and I think that it's people really desiring to virtue signal. They just want to virtue signal. They want everyone to see how progressive the United States really is and how progressive they are, so that they can win progressive brownie points. Yeah, and it's all bullshit.
Yeah. I remember I went to a family reunion in like the middle of Iowa once, and that's where like all my redneck relatives live, and my like great uncle was telling me about that. He's like, yeah, well, he just read the Quran one day and he figured out that, well, these guys don't match our values, so we're gonna go kick their ass. Like,
I mean, that's basically what it was.
I was like, that might be a little oversimplified, you know, but yeah, I mean, he read the Quran and he decided, well, these, you know, like, they were pirates, like, they were legitimate pirates, like, back in the 1700s, and he decided to do something about it. And it's interesting, though, because, like, we just got out of a war, and everyone back then who supported American independence was more of an isolationist than we are absolutely. Now. So to have an isolationist go out and start and finish something with another group of people that aren't even on our coast, you know that he must have thought very ill about them, you know?
Yeah, I mean, part of it was the fact that they were just interrupting American commerce so much, and America kind of had to put its foot down to gain some sort of power in the world. But, I mean, one thing that's worth taking into account is the fact that Jefferson was a deist. I mean, he believed there was a power, but he didn't really believe that Christianity was the answer. He didn't believe that Judaism or Islam was the answer. Mm-hmm. He just kind of believed, well, one thing that's interesting, I believe it's Jefferson, who he cut out all the stuff about Jesus being divine and left in all the lessons that Jesus taught us. And literally, his point was that Jesus teaches every single person how to live excellently.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that too. Yeah. I mean, he obviously saw the merit in the stories, but he didn't fully believe or fully base his political views on a specific religion or specific doctrine.
Yeah, no, he did believe that there was a creator who gave us all these inalienable rights, which is a beautiful thing. But anyway, another thing that I saw, this is just another tweet. So, you know, I'm from Illinois, where it's mostly just liberals. And so a lot of my friends from high school, bless their hearts, I love them to death, but they tweet very liberal things. And I saw one of my friends had retweeted a picture that Ocasio-Cortez tweeted of her. It was her, like, dancing on Capitol, like in Capitol Hill.
I don't even know what roof she's on.
No, it's not the roof one. It's not the roof one.
Oh,
it's the one where she's just like in
outside her office.
Yeah, and she's like, Republicans say women dancing is scandalous. This will show them, or something like that. I'm like, who the fuck ever said that? Who said that?
I have no idea.
What Republican was like, dude, we don't live in Footloose, okay? You're not Kevin Bacon. Or, the Republicans aren't Dennis Quaid in the remake. I have no idea who Kevin Bacon's character was in the remake. I never saw it.
I don't know. I only watched Kevin Bacon.
We don't live in Footloose. Like, who the fuck says shit like... Nobody says that. Nobody said women dancing is scandalous. They haven't said that since, the early 1800s when women were supposed to just sit down, shut up, and then just, go faint on a fainting couch or something.
And even then, ballroom dancing was still perfectly fine.
Yeah, it just boggles my mind that there's this mindset that is so... that just desires the worst from opposition.
It's like they have to come up with something to oppose us with. Yeah. It's like, no, you're fine. You be in Congress. I don't give a shit. You were elected. Yeah. There, be in Congress. Yeah. Don't make it, they hate me because I'm being me. Like, no, we hate you because you're an idiot.
Who has the worst crazy eyes ever. Show a picture of the crazy eyes. It's terrifying.
Just something you see in your nightmares, I'm pretty sure.
She has the worst crazy eyes of any person. Okay, so this is kind of going along with, definitely with her ideology. But one thing I've been noticing, I've been listening to a lot of Dave Rubin while I've been working out. Mm-hmm. I don't know, something about that man's voice just gives me strength, It's beautiful. Yeah. No homo. So,
for you, not for him.
Yeah, I know. Well, anyway, so, Dave Rubin, love the guy, love listening to him. So I've been listening to him talk with a lot of people, and basically what he's kind of coming to the conclusion of, and I agree with this wholeheartedly, is that this whole progressivism thing has become a religion for the people that subscribe to it, because a lot of these people are missing some sort of meaning in their life. And this is something that Jordan Peterson always talks about, is that everyone seeks meaning in their life. Yeah. That's what everyone does. You always find meaning in things. And when your life is devoid of meaning, you seek it out. And what a lot of people have done, because they're like, oh, the Catholic Church is just, it's all sexist because women can't be priests, or Judaism, oh, men and women have to be separated sometimes. That's so sexist, and then they gloss over Islam. Well, yeah, but they reject all forms of actual spirituality, and they find spirituality meaning in this progressive, ridiculous ideal it's not even progressive anymore. It's regressive. It stopped being progressive a long time ago. Yeah. And that's something that's really frustrating to me, at least, because it's just like, dude, it's very obvious to me that this has basically become their religion, because they're seeking something on which to base their life. They're seeking meaning. Yeah, and that's not a bad thing to try and find something. But when your meaning, or I don't even think it can actually be like a true meaning if it is interfering with someone else's life or their meaning too. Yeah, absolutely. Like that's not a proper orientation in the world. Yeah, I fully agree. I think it's a dangerous ideology, to say the least. What's the next thing we're trying? Next thing we're trying, I found these at Total Wine. It's called Slow and Low 84 Proof Rock and Rye. So it's made with straight rye whiskey, raw honey, navel orange, raw candy, and bitters. It comes in a little can. I think it's like just a pre-made cocktail. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. But because it has like navel orange, raw candy, and bitters. Like you think like with bitters it'd be a full cocktail, You'd think. It says, yeah, don't need no fixin', drink straight up or with ice on the can. So there we go. All right, cracking these bad boys open. Oh crap! Oh, it's one of these. Okay. You gotta. I don't have. Here, wait. You want? Oh, you got it. There you go. And then you gotta pull it. There you go. All right. Let's see how these things taste. All right. Well, while we're sipping this and trying this, what do you think is what kind of idea have you been mulling over in your mind the most? Maybe you don't have one like right off the bat, because that's kind of You know what I figured out? I don't know if I figured it out, but the other day I don't know if you know about the same, but a lot
or seeing, the problem with Patreon. You heard about that?
Yeah.
So, and how Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson are basically going to essentially make their own Patreon, from what I gather.
Yeah, hopefully they do.
And so I realized that the left lost the battle on the legislative front. Like, so since they did that, now they're attacking like private companies and shaming private companies who support anyone with any sort of right wing or even slightly right or like right of center ideals. Yeah. And so now they're going. They lost on the legislative front, like with the freedom of speech. They know that they can't win that anymore. And now they're changing it to private companies, private industry, and they're going after them. And now, like markets do in the free market, this is actually one of the problems with how our market is set up, is that the companies will respond to, I mean, obviously supply and demand, but they will respond to sort of, what am I thinking of here? Like public opinion.
Okay.
And so if a bunch of people hate the fact that, there's a Patreon for, let's say, in quotes, alt-right person, then everyone on the left will automatically gang up on Patreon, and they won't give them any money until Patreon cuts them off, Yeah. So the businesses will respond to public opinion, which is unfortunately the downfall of the system that we have right now. And I don't know, and I guess, but then like Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin are doing, this is kind of the silver lining in our free market system, is that, hey, we'll just start our own company then. If you're not gonna, if you're playing by someone else's rules, then we're gonna do our own thing here. Yeah. And so that's the thing that I've realized, that they lost on like the legislative, like technical political front, and now they're moving into private industries and private companies and trying to sway their decisions based off of public opinion. Yeah,
I agree with that. I think so. Going kind of to the first point of, they lost the legislative battle, I think that shows the necessity of Trump. I mean, anyone at this point who thinks that it would have been better to have Hillary as president is absolutely insane. Not only because of the things that Trump has done that are very good for the country objectively, but also just because of the things, the freedom of speech issues. The left would win the freedom of speech issues if Trump wasn't in office. I think it helps that we have the Republican Congress that we do, but without Trump, I really think we'd be in trouble. So as much as, I'm not the biggest fan of him, I'm not the biggest, detractor of him, I don't love him or hate him, I kind of base his merits on what he does individually, but I think it shows the necessity of him in this time. And I think that a lot of people saw that kind of stuff brewing, and that's part of the reason why he won. That's a big part of the reason why he won.
Simply because of the time he was in.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you really think he would have won like the 2000 election, talking the way he does, of course not.
No.
But the 2016 election, I mean, there's a good reason why he won. And then, I think going to the point of the free markets, I mean, I think a big part of it that's frustrating is, I don't know if Patreon didn't really
quasi-free market, technically.
Yeah, well, the U.S. isn't quite there yet. There's always hope for the future.
Yes.
But, no, so I think going to that idea of, a lot of people were against Patreon, and so Patreon reacted. I think something that's really frustrating that I don't know if people are talking about this enough, maybe they are, but no one was really pulling money from Patreon that I know of. No one's significant. There wasn't a huge movement about it that I saw. It was mostly just a lot of people just getting mad at Patreon. And that's when they started to violate their own community service guidelines, which is really funny because the founder of Patreon actually went on Dave Rubin's show and said, go on Patreon because you will not be removed from Patreon for violating our community guidelines outside of our website. So even if on YouTube you say something that would violate our community guidelines, as long as you don't violate it on Patreon, we don't care. And it's very clear that that's just a very hypocritical move. I think there's a decent argument to be made that he was just trying to get more conservatives on there to make more money, which I don't blame him, but at the same time, it's like, dude, you fucking lied to us all. Yeah. It's so shitty.
Which is another reason why people are ditching Patreon, because I see that and they say, well, I'm not going to put my money in a company that lies to my face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So with things like Patreon, we can make new websites that I think can be successful. With things like YouTube or Facebook, however, they're so ingrained in our mainstream culture. Mm-hmm. Like, you can say, like, oh, I'll just go put my video up on, like, Vimeo. But, like, that's a joke.
That's not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, and you could say, like, oh, well, I'll make my own social network. And then we tried that, and then PayPal, like, kicked us out. But whatever. But anyway, so basically the point I'm getting at, is it time to start regulating these social media platforms like they are utilities? Because I hate that idea. The second anyone says regulation, I cringe. Like, I really don't like it. Mm-hmm. But at this point, it's getting to be where, you know, the fact that it's just YouTube is owned by Google, you really can't create another YouTube, but YouTube is consistently fucking up everything.
Yeah.
At what point do we have to just bring in some sort of regulation?
Yeah, well, you know, an interesting point that Jordan Peterson made too is when he was talking with Dave Rubin about this, is he said like if you are to like just like think freely about this and you say, okay, well, let's say, because now from what I understand, it's even gotten to the credit card companies as they're being targeted too.
They are.
For, you know, having alt-right, in quotes, alt-right customers. I don't actually know if anyone is really alt-right except for like the 3,000 KKK members out of the 330 million U.S. citizens, you know?
Yeah.
But
no,
anyways,
there really isn't an alt-right anymore.
Besides the point. But so now the credit card companies are, you know, they're under attack. And then Jordan Peterson was like, well, you know, like down the line, who's to say like that XL isn't going to provide energy for someone who has alt-right views? You know, they're just going to shut down. Like, it might seem crazy now, but like, look where we are now.
Yeah.
Like, there are, obviously there are steps that they need to take to get to that point, but like, if we don't cut it off now, then it's, I can see it getting to that point too. And so I think with like the regulation, like because businesses can, if I'm not mistaken, businesses can like deny service to customers for like almost no reason, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's kind of like, so right now the gay and trans thing is iffy. Uh-huh. That's basically the Supreme Court kicked the ball down the road and won't touch it right now. Though with two new, more conservative justices, I think that decision will be made much better. But right now you can't discriminate based on, I think it's just race right now. I think it's race. Or like nationality, like ethnicity, that kind of thing. Yep. Maybe religion, I think. Maybe not. I actually have no idea.
I think religion is still... I think you can still... as a business, you can discriminate against religion. I think.
Okay. Because
I haven't heard anything against... Or, like, I haven't heard any circumstances otherwise. But I know for sure race.
Yeah.
Is, yeah. So for sure race is taken care of. In regards of who people identify with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just don't know. And this is very technical, like, you know, this is technical legislation that like we're talking about here, where it's like, well, can you, like, what's the difference between like, you know, race versus gender versus religion? And then another thing I was thinking of when I was in the shower last night, you know, you have these deep shower thoughts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I was like, wait a second. If I can choose my own sexual orientation and my, like bisexual trans person and my own gender, and if Rachel Dolezal can choose her own race, then racism isn't a thing, because you can just, if someone gets mad at you for being white, you can be like, oh, actually I'm black, so your argument isn't valid.
I identify as a Pacific Islander.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so then you can just, like, meander in between races and genders and sexual orientations all the livelong day if someone gets mad at you. So I was like, well, so there's, like, a few things that, like, you know, they'd be like, okay, well, I don't like this person because they're black or because they're gay or because they're a woman or whatever. I'm like, well, actually, I identify as a white lesbian woman or guy, you know. Yeah. There are no lines anymore.
Yeah, you can just make
it's all gray area that you can make up. So then I was like, well, then racism isn't really a thing because race isn't real.
Yeah,
Because one person can define what race is for just them.
Yeah.
There's no lines anymore with especially with the left.
And what's funny about that is like it's just kind of like, wait, are you suggesting that there are objective things in this world? How dare you suggest that, sir? Like that's kind of the thing that it gets to. It's like, wait, does that mean there has to be objectivity? What a crazy concept.
Yeah, and when the whole Rachel Dolezal thing broke, I remember one of my friends from high school was like, well, I believe that you can, like, choose a different gender, but I don't know how I feel about choosing a certain race. And they were on the left-leaning spectrum, and I was like, well, why not? We've already taken it this far. You can choose what gender you are. Why not choose what race you are? Yeah. Why not choose what species you are? If gender has no biological grounding, I'm a bird right now, okay?
Yeah, you definitely are a bird. I am affirming who you are as a bird.
Thank you. I appreciate that you accept me.
Definitely not sending you to an insane asylum, Johnny.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
it's
think...
like that episode in South Park where
he wants to be a dolphin.
A dolphin. He gets a dolphin plasty or something.
He gets dolphin plastic surgery. Oh god.
And Stan becomes a black basketball player.
Yeah, he becomes black. It's so funny.
Gosh. These are the good old days of South Park.
That's one of the best things about South Park is they take these ideologies, and even that. Really, what that started with was taking it. Like, just taking the, cutting off your dick and making it into a vagina that Mr.
Mackey.
Garrison.
Or Mr. Garrison.
Mr. Mackey is the,
drugs and bad, I'm glad.
Yeah. No, Mr. Garrison. And so basically, I mean, it was for comedy's purposes, but it did make a good point that it's like, at what point do you say, okay, this is a little ridiculous? Mm-hmm. I think South Park has done that really well. They're one of the very few shows that I think has remained kind of steadfast in their politics over time.
Yeah, and nice. Always relevant, too.
Oh, yeah. No, they do a good job of keeping relevant. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Also, this drink it's really good.
Yeah, it is.
All right. What is the name of this company? Temperance Distilling Company in Temperance, Michigan. If you want to sponsor us here at A Bit Too Much to Think, give me a ring. All you got to do is send me some of the stuff, and I'll drink it every day. Make me an alcoholic, please do.
Yes.
Okay, so getting to kind of shifting topics, we said we'd talk about weed.
Yes.
I can't seem to go an episode of my live show without talking about weed, which makes me sound like Joe Rogan, which is kind of makes me feel like Joe Rogan, except I don't talk about chimpanzees at all, so...
True.
That's kind of the difference. No, but so at what point I guess so we kind of talked about this in the podcast we tried to do, but it didn't really turn out very well. So, how do you feel about marijuana? The way I feel about it, regulate it like tobacco and alcohol. We all know it's not great for you, just like tobacco and alcohol. But at some point you have to say, well, people are going to do this for fun. They enjoy doing this. Why don't we just tax the shit out of it and then stop letting cartels make millions of dollars off of this?
Well, so I remember Sam and I went to a dinner. God, when was that? That was December 22nd. I don't know how long ago that was. But we were talking about, what did Trump say that was legal now? Like,
we talked about it on my live show. So it was now hemp is legal to grow for farmers that don't have a drug violation in the last 10 years.
And so basically the difference between hemp and marijuana is
THC.
THC, okay.
Yeah.
So I think with this legislation, and this is where things get very technical, is that obviously he passed something with hemp is legal because it does not have THC.
Which is a part of marijuana that gets you high.
Mm-hmm. So what is he actually making legal? Things that don't have THC in them? Or things that are from a marijuana plant or whatever. I don't actually know enough about marijuana to really be talking. But but that's an interesting question to bring up. So are you saying that THC, that chemical compound, is illegal? And if we make it legal, how do we regulate that chemical compound? Because there are obviously multiple products that you can make without THC in them.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's really hammering down like what you're actually against. You know,
Yeah.
Because I don't think I don't think I'm necessarily against like marijuana use if it's recreational. You know, just don't get high and drive. Same with don't drink and drive. Like we were saying, like regulate it like alcohol, tobacco. Don't sell it to people under 18. You know, stuff like that. Even though I believe that the drinking age should be lowered, but you know.
Amen. Yeah, no, that's kind of how I feel about it too. So basically, the difference between hemp and marijuana plants, they're both in the same family, but hemp basically has like super, super low THC, whereas marijuana has much higher THC. THC is the psychoactive component, for those of you that don't know, that actually gets you high. So what's interesting is that now, technically, CBD oil, which is this like supplement that a lot of people say helps reduce inflammation. It's kind of like ibuprofen, but it doesn't mess with your stomach biome like ibuprofen does. A lot of people really like it because it helps them feel better. A lot of people say it has antidepressive components to it. Now that's actually legal to make because CBD oil itself was never made illegal. It was the hemp and marijuana that you have to make it from that was illegal. So now you can make CBD oil from hemp, and that's legal. You can sell that. It's not FDA approved, so I'm probably not going to be taking it. But so now CBD oil is technically legal. I think the biggest thing there is really, it's the psychoactive substance. It's the THC that people just haven't really gotten over yet. And I think that's the part that they're going to have to regulate. You know, again, CBD oil can't really get you high as far as I know. It's not a psychoactive substance. It's really just the THC, and at this point... I don't think there's that much of a hop, skip, and a jump. I actually kind of hope that for the 2020 election, if he hasn't legalized it already, that Trump runs on legalizing marijuana.
I think he will.
I think he could get... I think you'd get a lot of libertarian votes. Because I think a lot of people would lean Gary Johnson again, and you get a lot of votes for that. God, I really hope Gary Johnson is not the libertarian candidate. He's not a real libertarian. He's just the guy with the experience. I really hope it's someone more like Austin Peterson, who came in second to him in the selection for the Libertarian Party candidate.
He's like the poster child libertarian. Like when you say libertarian nowadays, people think of Gary Johnson,
and that's sad because he's not actually a libertarian.
No, like I think I'm less of a conservative and more of a libertarian, honestly.
I mean, yeah, I feel that way too. I'm a little bit more libertarian leaning.
Yeah, and like in the classical sense of liberalism, like freedom there.
Yeah, yeah. I think most people. I see. That's the thing. This is one thing I've heard Milo talk about is nowadays we talk about right and left. Really, right and left is shifting to more of a authoritarian versus libertarian distinction. Like if you've ever seen I think it's called the compass test. Where you have it's like the political compass test where it's like left and right, but then you also have the y-axis like Cartesian coordinates, and it's authoritarian at the top and libertarian at the bottom. And yeah, I think the nation's politics are shifting much more authoritarian versus libertarian. And basically what happened is the Democrats used to be the more libertarian group, and now they're the very much more authoritarian. And it used to be the Republicans ruled by the crazy Christian right in the 90s were the more authoritarian. Now they're becoming more libertarian, which it's crazy to think that frickin' Jeb Bush is more libertarian. But, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
you know what, like, would be cool? You know, like how there used to be the Whigs and... was it the Democrats?
It was the Whigs, and I want to say it was like... I'm trying to remember what the group... I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, look it up. Because, like, that would be so cool, like, in our lifetime, to see the names of the, like, actual parties switch. Like how cool would that be? To be, like, authoritarian and libertarian.
Yeah. That actually...
Because, you know what happens is after that, when people say, like, well, why are they authoritarian? What's their authority over us?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I think... Well, I mean, that would just be cool to see, like, instead of, like, Donald Trump R, like, in parentheses R, be like Donald Trump L.
Yeah, exactly. That's something I'd like to run for president on. So basically, the Whigs were formed, pulling together former members of the National Republican Party.
Okay, so it was like the Democratic Republican Party.
and then there was the Federalist Party.
That's right.
And
that's
then
what it was.
Then it all split. Yeah, the party system in the U.S. is just so dumb because there was supposed to be no party system in the U.S. There never was supposed to be.
I saw this great meme where it's like where it's painting of George Washington. He's like, all right, no one choose sides. Like, you know, like talk with talk with each other. Like sort out your differences, but don't like polarize. And then 200 some years later, it's like Democrats, Republicans, and that's it. It's like He's like, okay, guys, thanks. You really did me a solid on that.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that I think the U.S. has lost. I mean, it's worth asking the question: is it actually a bad thing to have to have a party system? And not necessarily, but I think the fact that it's become like a social kind of currency to be a part of a party.
The worst thing
is a serious issue.
Yeah, the worst thing about being Democrat or Republican nowadays is that so I saw this PragerU video, which PragerU is amazing, with Will Witt, and he went around, I forget what city he was in, but he went around asking Democrats if they would ever be friends with Republicans. And they're like, oh, I hope not. Like, oh, if I am, I'm not going to be friends with them anymore. So that, like, basically about 90% of all the Democrats answered in that fashion. And then he asked Republicans, like, oh, hey, would you ever be friends with a Democrat? Like, oh, yeah, I would, you know. I mean, we could talk about our differences, stuff like that. Yeah. So it's more than just Democrat, Republican. It's like open to ideas and close off to ideas and authoritarian and libertarian, and it's so much more than just being Democrat or Republican nowadays.
Yeah, no. So I think what's frustrating about that is that the Democrat Party wasn't always like that. It's just the Democrat Party started accepting all of these weirdos taking control of them that were just saying, you know, if you're a Republican, you are a racist. You are a terrible person.
You're a Nazi.
And you're a Nazi. Donald Trump is worse than Hitler. Do you watch
Nazi
Fleckus Talks?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Dude, I love Fleckus. Anyway, yeah, no, even though Nazis were socialists, because it's the National Socialist,
Party.
How dare we suggest that? Yeah, it's a terrible thing to suggest.
Yeah.
All right, so what are we drinking next?
So we are drinking 20 Grand Gold. So this is vodka infused with cognac.
Awesome.
So have you ever had cognac before?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, cognac I love. Vodka, however, is shitty to drink straight.
Just give me like a little bit. That's good.
All right.
Yeah, I do not like vodka, even though I'm Polish. I don't understand it.
But that's more of a Russian thing.
Vodka was invented in Poland.
Oh, damn. Never mind.
Yeah.
Well, okay, it was popularized by the Russians.
Yeah, because of potato water. Because it was cheap. No, actually. I don't know why. Just not into vodka.
Wow. That is surprisingly amazing.
That is really good. That's like dangerous good.
Yeah. Oh, that's very like, sweet.
That's so sweet. That's like...
But there was like no burn on that.
Wow. That is really... That's like what like really slutty party chicks try to drink all the time. That's what they try to get guys to buy them drinks of.
Oh my god. Yeah, just bring this. So this is 20 Grand Gold. Got this at Total Wine.
Well, 20 Grand Gold, if you want to sponsor us here at A Bit Too Much to Think, all you gotta do is send us a bottle of it and I'll talk up your stuff all you want. Yeah, I'm waiting to get my first sponsor. I have a feeling it'll just be like I'm hoping it'll be an alcohol company, but it's gonna be like, no, it's not even gonna be PBR. It's gonna be like Pedialyte. They're gonna be like, hey, this kid's hungover all the time. Either that or just something stupid that I'm not gonna want to sponsor, like some of those awful mobile games.
Oh god.
Yeah. So, while we're on the topic of mobile games and let's just say the internet in general.
Yeah.
Let's take a shift away from the political, talk a little cultural. Johnny, what is your favorite meme right now?
Oh, my favorite meme. You know, let me delve into my phone here.
Okay.
Because I have several, if not in the teens, of folders of memes.
Oh, so do I. I've got one folder that's just regular memes, then one folder that I call the good stuff. Those are all the memes that I can't show most normal people.
So because I'm a huge Marvel fan, I love my Thanos memes.
Ooh, Thanos memes are good.
Yes.
I do like Thanos memes.
The best thing to come from Infinity War was the memes.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a good movie.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
The memes are better.
Great movie. Memes are better. One of my all-time favorites, though, has to be the Sesame Street memes.
Oh,
if you ever see, like,
those.
Sesame Street characters with, like... So there's a picture of Big Bird here just, like, smiling with Grover, like, on the very side of the screen. And it says... It has been a full day since Big Bird nailed Grover's hands to the metal beam, and he still cannot stop laughing.
It's just so terrible. Those were
the worst. But the thing. Oh, okay. So we're getting into culture here. It's like it's the worst thing that can happen to like the most innocent characters, which is the whole thing with Count Dankula.
Yes.
With the pug, it was like the worst joke you can make with the most innocent like creature on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with
that.
Yeah,
like it was funny. That's funny.
It actually was very funny. Anyone who says it wasn't is just a killjoy. It was hilarious.
Gosh, but so I feel like that's like, I mean, you know, like that's like the kind of danger of memes to the left, I guess, is just how like truthfully like funny they are.
Yeah, and that's why so many comedians like don't feel like they can say anything, or you know, a lot of comedians are coming out against like all this BS of like trying to shut down speech.
Yeah.
Even Dave Chappelle talked against it, and then Dave Chappelle went on a rant about Trump, and then apologized for saying, "Hey, he's our president. We should give him a chance," which was the worst thing he could have done. But he still spoke out against these people that are like, "Oh, you can't say that." You know, Bill Burr speaks out against that all the time.
Oh, Bill Burr is my man. He's my favorite comedian.
He's so funny. Yeah, it's but yeah. So I think that people are trying to sound. Yeah. So the Sesame Street memes. Those are originally called Burt strips. There's an entire subreddit, reddit.com/r/Burt strips. I think my favorite meme right now is the one of the Fallout guy going, "Excuse me, what the fuck?"
Yes,
that's my favorite one right now. Let's see what I got in here. I also like the "It ain't much, but it's honest work."
I don't think
memes.
I've ever
Have
seen
you not seen those? Those are pretty good. They're pretty good. They're not the best, but they're pretty good. And then also any memes of Arthur, where it just has like a really weird caption for it. It's just Arthur, like it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Sesame Street. Yeah. It's like the most innocent thing you can think of, and have the worst caption to it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there was, you know, and I know, Sam, you aren't on Instagram as much as I am, but Instagram is like the new frontier for bass boosted vines. But it's like a whole minute of it. Instead of 7 seconds, you get a whole minute of glorious bass right in your ears. It is amazing.
Well, while we're on that subject, Johnny, I think you know what I'm going to ask you.
Uh-oh.
Is TikTok the new Vine?
You and I have talked about this before, and
yep, we gotta tell the audience, tell the good people.
So it has the potential to be the new Vine. However, I don't think any of the users on it right now are ready to switch over. See, like with Vine, you had I was with Vine from the beginning to the end, and I swear I could write a whole dissertation on Vine.
Oh yeah.
For 1 minute, or for one time at work, I spent about 30 minutes telling someone the introduction of bass boosted vines, where it started. And it started with it's bass boosted lightsaber Star Wars fights.
Yep.
That was the intro to it, and from there it took off and flew. You know.
And it became beautiful.
Yes.
And stupid but beautiful.
Yes. So I think right now with TikTok, what we have is people using the app for exactly what it's designed for. But I think later on, new users will come on, and they'll just turn it to hell.
I don't know if you've seen any PewDiePie videos where he looks at TikTok.
Yeah.
He says Vine. He says TikTok is Vine with bullying. That is what it is. Because you have a lot of younger kids, high schoolers, coming on and just making fun of anyone who does something stupid on Vine. It's the funniest goddamn thing to me in the world. That's why I love that. I don't even have TikTok on my phone. I just love watching the YouTube comps of it. It's pretty good. There's some good memes out there. Definitely some good.
There are.
I think my favorite one right now is the videos where people like dress themselves up to look like something or someone, and then it'll show like a picture. It'll like immediately switch to a picture of that person or thing they're trying to look like, and it looks like identical. So it's like a chick who's sitting there in like a jacket, and she put in like pigtails in her hair and then smiled, and then it switched to a picture of Anne Frank, and it like looked identical.
Yeah.
And like there wasn't even like any kind of anti-Semitic context behind it. The whole point was just, hey, I kind of look like Anne Frank. That was it. That was the whole point. It had nothing deeper to it. It's
oh my gosh.
It's a beautiful shit post. I love it.
You know, the deep internet is such a beautiful thing.
Dude, the iFunny collective has still provided me with some of the worst
I deleted
and
iFunny
best
a while
memes.
ago.
The only reason I kept it was for the collective. I didn't look at the featured. I would just
featured is trash.
Oh, it's garbage memes. I would just look at the collective for the like really obscure stuff. It was always a good time. Mm-hmm. All right, so shifting a little bit back into the political. Well, a little bit, still a little cultural. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Have you seen the movie Vice?
I have not,
Dick
but
Cheney?
I just heard that Christian Bale won a Golden Globe for it.
He
for
should've.
musical or comedy?
Comedy.
Oh, so it's comedy.
It's technically a comedy. Here's the thing. I thought it was going to be a biopic. It was not a biopic. It was a funny movie, and it was a well-made movie with great acting. Christian Bale did an amazing job as...
He is the best method actor alive.
Oh, he's so good. It's like him or Daniel Day-Lewis, just because of Daniel Day-Lewis's portrayal of
Daniel
Abraham Lincoln.
Day-Lewis.
Really?
I kind of hate him because I'm going to go on a rant here.
Okay,
but
please
the movie Phantom Thread, I did not hear of until the night of the Oscars.
Never even heard of it. I don't watch the Oscars.
It's a Daniel Day-Lewis movie. Didn't you know? Of course, it's a Daniel Day-Lewis movie. He was in it, but he didn't win. But he was in a movie that made like no money. And then I heard about it, and that was all they would talk about at the Oscars was Phantom Thread. Daniel Day-Lewis. Phantom Thread. Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, I think I know which movie you're talking. Where he plays like a tailor.
Yeah, he's a tailor.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but no. Like, I want Christian Bale, like Dark Knight, Infinity War, Vice, Bohemian Rhapsody, A Star Is Born, like big blockbuster hits that people actually love,
Yeah, and that's something that I think they added to the Oscars, like best blockbuster film.
Oh my gosh!
Something like
okay,
that.
Since we're talking about culture,
yeah.
Sorry, I hate to interrupt you, but
please do.
I was watching a recap of the best motion picture drama, and it was the first two nominees: Black Panther, Black Klansman, and I actually thought the next movie was going to start with the word black. Like, that's just where we are now in 2018.
Yeah, it's I mean, Black Panther was a pretty good film.
It was, but like I sincerely love Marvel. It's maybe out of the, I think, 20 or 21 films now that they have.
Yeah,
it's
like
in the top half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Upper third-ish.
Yeah, upper third-ish. But, like, it's not great compared to the other ones.
Compared to Infinity War,
oh my
it's
gosh.
not that good. Compared to... Though, I was so glad that the new Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse won Best Animated Picture. Yeah, oh my god, that movie... That is the best Spider-Man movie. Hands down.
Gosh.
Destroys every other Spider-Man movie. Not even close. It's the best Spider-Man movie.
It's better than the one with Tobey Maguire.
Dude, they actually acknowledge all the Tobey Maguire films, including the really awkward dance scene.
Oh.
In the third one, when he becomes
when he
gets
like the whole like, black outfit.
Yep. When he becomes emo, they actually make reference to it, and it's so fucking fun. Oh my god, that movie is so good, and a great cast too. You have Nick Cage playing Spider-Man Noir.
Right. Yeah.
You have the guy who's in New Girl.
Nick. All I know is Nick.
Yeah. That's all I could think of him
Yep.
as. He plays basically the Amazing Spider-Man, like the older one.
Like Peter Parker, right?
Yeah, like the old Spider-Man, yeah. And then you have John Mulaney as Spider-Ham. Because they have the pig Spider-Man. Yeah, so dude, so worth seeing, 100%.
Awesome. Okay.
What was I saying about Vice? Okay, so it was very much a very left-leaning movie. Very clearly just hated on Dick Cheney the whole time. And one thing that was what was frustrating to me is that, like, I thought it was going to be a biopic, and they kind of made it seem like it was going to be, like, you know, a comedic biopic that would show some of the, you know, show some of the flaws of him as a person. But really, it was just a hit piece on him. Like, that's all it really was. It did have its really funny moments. And, like, I'm not acknowledging that it was a bad film. I'm just saying it was, like, there were times where it was just ridiculous and missing the point. Like, for example, at one point they talk about how Reagan was trying to veto this one bill that they said in the movie. It was like the Fair Broadcast Bill or something. It was introduced in the 1930s. And what they say in the movie is that it was created so that TV channels have to give equal time to each political ideology. It's basically how they frame it. That's not true. What that bill actually did was, if someone is campaigning on one side and is given time on the channel, then the channel has to give equal time to someone else on the opposite side. That's for campaigning, and it's meant for campaign commercials.
Okay.
So, like, if someone, say a Democrat, has like a ton of commercials on Fox, Fox is not allowed to say to a Republican, you cannot have commercials on our channel. They have to give opportunity for the exact same amount of airtime, is basically what the law is. Okay. So that was something where it was like, oh, look, Reagan tried to get rid of, you know, equal political stuff on channels, and look what happened now. Everything's just so politically polarized. No. And it's like, that's not what it did. Stop being dishonest about things.
Yeah.
And at the very end of the movie, it showed, like, kind of like an aftermath of... It was basically doing, like, an aftermath of Dick Cheney's time in the White House. And it showed, like, school shootings and forest fires. And I'm like, dude, okay, you can...
Things that he has literally no control over.
You can blame Dick Cheney for the war in Iraq. You can blame Dick Cheney for the war in Iran. You can blame Dick Cheney for the fact that we didn't have an exit strategy. You can 100% blame him for that. You can't blame him for California wildfires because the head of the Department of, Natural Resources or whatever in California, the guy who's in charge of all the woodlands that are being set on fire, specifically said it has nothing to do with any policy except for California's policy of not allowing controlled burns to occur.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That's why those are happening. And then, like, you can't attribute school shootings to Dick Cheney. First off, Columbine happened before he was president, or vice president, as far as I know. Right? Wasn't Columbine in the 90s? It was the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you gotta look that up.
Yeah.
Anyway, this movie basically made it seem like all of America's ails are Dick Cheney's fault. And if Dick Cheney just wasn't this horrible, like, power-hungry, evil man, all these problems would be fine. And
1999.
Yeah, 99, before he was even vice president, before he even agreed
2 years.
Like, oh, God. So, it was dishonest as a film. And there was one point where, like, and this really happened, where Dick Cheney was thinking of running for president in 88, but he didn't poll very well. And so he thought about going into the primaries. The problem is, his daughter is gay, and he believed that she would be attacked, and he would be attacked because, you know, she was a lesbian, and he would be attacked for, you know, being pro-gay marriage because of that. And he said, I'm not going to make my daughter, you know, a political pawn, so I'm not going to end up running. Well, what the movie then did is made it seem like, it did this really funny, like, fake ending that was actually, it was very funny, where it, like, showed all of them fishing, and then it was like, Dick Cheney never again went into politics because of his love for his daughter. His wife and he now raise award-winning golden retrievers and give back to the community every day. You know, funny stuff like that. And it was funny. But the problem with that is, like, look, he still did something good there. You can't pretend like he didn't. Don't pretend like he's a monster because of this, because he said he wasn't going to make his daughter a political pawn.
Yeah.
It's just, again, disingenuous, really frustrating. That's my take on Vice. It is a good movie. I think it's worth seeing because it taught me a lot. But you have to realize that it very much has a very, very left-leaning
that's all I would.
ideology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing that the left took over Hollywood so quickly.
I don't think it is. Just because when the government gives up control of it and they don't exactly need people to like make propaganda films and they're not trying to check like who's making kind of what kind of film, I think that someone who's interested in the arts has a tendency to lean left. And so when you have, a ton of people that very clearly are very interested in the arts because it's what they do for a living, I think you're going to find a majority lefties. I think it's surprising that Hollywood is so openly left, but I think it's because they exist in their own bubble where it's just like, oh, we're all super left and we're all super rich and, we should all just be socialist because I'll be well taken care of. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where you get these.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if you saw, like, after the 2016 election, but it was Olivia Wilde, Mark Ruffalo, and someone else, some other celebrity, were like chanting like Trump is not a legitimate president. Like,
oh my god! Come on,
actually,
dude.
like technically by definition he is, but like,
hey man, technically Bernie can still win. Okay, the superdelegates don't count.
Bernie can still win. The Electoral College hates him. Learn how he can win this election with one simple trick.
Yeah, no. I love that.
But yeah, it's like, but all of them are smiling as they're doing it. Like they're somehow like lifting themselves up. Yeah. Like we know what's actually happening.
Yeah, it's virtue signaling.
And we know more than you guys.
It's contributing to this ideology that's become a religion for them. It's like when you go to church, like normal church-going people, sometimes you go to church and you don't really feel like it, but then you leave church and you're like, wow, I'm really glad I went. I feel more spiritually fulfilled. You don't really get that with the, trying the gentleman jack. I like it. You don't really get that when that's kind of the idea is like, that's what they're getting out of it, is this ridiculous, I think it's super hard to open.
Jesus.
Is this ridiculous? It's basically like they're like contributing to their religion by saying like Donald Trump is evil, Orange Man bad.
Not the NPC memes are probably one of the most accurate things I've ever seen in my life.
100%. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is. 100%. Very accurate. What's funny is that it's accurate on both sides, though. Because if you say, because a lot of people, it's like, Orange Man good. Why? Then they get mad. Because they can't articulate or they don't understand that it's like, okay, the economy's doing very well, unemployment is down, Trump is standing up to us on a national or on an international scale. Mm-hmm. He's cutting a lot of spending in places where it didn't need to be, and what's really sad is that a lot of people can't articulate it on both sides.
Yeah.
And that's something I think that's great that the NPC meme has kind of pointed out.
Yeah.
Right now we are drinking Gentleman Jack by Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels, if you would like to sponsor us here at A Bit Too Much to Think, all you got to do is send us a bottle of Jack Daniels or bottle of Gentleman Jack, whatever you feel like. Tennessee Fire. Dude, I'm down for whatever.
The
Tennessee
Sinatra
Honey.
Select.
Sure, the expensive stuff. Why not? Yeah. Just send it to me. I'll drink it all the time and promote your stuff only. So feel free to sponsor us. Cheers.
Cheers. That's good.
Yeah, it's like a really smooth Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah.
Which is tough to find because Tennessee whiskey always has a bite, but like...
Yeah.
It's more of a burn than a bite, which is nice.
Yeah. Oh, shoot, I was going to say something. Oh, what were you just talking about?
We were talking about how basically it's become a religion. Like all this regressive, crazy ideology has become a religion. So that actually, well... we can kind of take a bit of a turn here and talk about the... Ooh, man. Okay.
Oh, I was going to ask you about the government shutdown.
Oh, the government shutdown. All right, so here's what's going on. So Trump says, like, weeks in advance, hey, I'm going to shut down the government if I don't get the $5 billion that I want for the wall. Here's the thing. We need the wall. The wall is necessary, and the biggest thing, and this is something that the Trump administration has been pointing out, is the wall is not like in every single place, a physical concrete barrier between the U.S. and Mexico. What it really is improving the fences that we do have, building a wall in some places, and improving the equipment and arming that our border security needs according to what the border security people say they need. Now look, $5 billion sounds like a lot. But let me also point out that on the Democrats' proposed bill for spending, that they proposed increasing foreign aid by $12 billion. Ooh. So why not propose increasing it by $7 billion and giving $5 billion to the wall? Because they're all people caught up in this ridiculous ideology, and I don't really understand it because I think it's just politically viable for them. I think that's all it is they just see it as politically viable. They don't see it as along with their liberal ideology. Mm-hmm. And so that's the real issue with the shutdown is the Democrats are proposing spending increases. Okay, like it's not like this $5 billion is somehow like adding just millions of dollars in taxes to the poor and like no. It's $5 billion, which is $7 billion less than the Democrats tried to increase just in foreign aid for this year. Mm-hmm. So that's the real issue with the shutdown. I think that you can say that Trump is being a bit of a child about it, but at the same time, Obama was a bit of a child about it too, because he did the exact same thing. He shut down the government. The Republicans wouldn't play ball.
17 days?
Yeah, for a long time. Yeah. And I think that Trump is basically willing to stare down the Democrats and just say, look, I'm already not that popular. What more can you do? Like, if we're going to be shut down, we're going to be shut down. Mm-hmm. And it's your fault. And I think it's nice that Trump is finally standing up for this. I think it's great.
Well, yeah, I mean, as soon as he announced his candidacy, everyone was, at least everyone that I know, was yelling, build the wall, you know?
Yeah, build the wall.
Like, that was a key point that, like...
That was one of the main things that got him elected. Yeah. Especially, that was one of the main things that got him the black vote. Or at least as many that he did, was building the wall.
Yeah, I mean, just on jobs, you know, it's and I tried explaining this to one of my, not so much left-leaning friends, but just somewhat, she was persuaded by the media a little bit too much for comfort, but I was like, well, when he says build the wall, he's taking a stance on immigration, saying that, like, no, we're not having any more, like, people in here that aren't legally going to come in here and are illegally going to take your jobs and take the money. And then, you know, I always see these things. It's like, oh, well, they're taking the jobs away from like the McDonald's workers, and why is that bad? And then all of a sudden, on the opposite hand, the same people will say, well, someone can't support a family on $10 an hour. They need to be $15 an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Why am I going to raise the minimum wage when someone from Mexico will work for $5 an hour?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. that's something that I learned in Thomas Sowell's book. Is I believe it was Advanced Economics, where it's basically just like, look, what immigration does is increase the supply of people willing to work for a smaller amount.
Yes.
Which means that the people that aren't willing to work for $1 an hour are all of a sudden kicked out of the employment area and are employment not market. Area, but like basically the employment market. They're phased out, and so what you end up with is basically really bad working. I mean, that's what caused during the Industrial Revolution in the U.S. That's why like Chicago was one of the worst places to live, because it was way overpacked, people working for pennies on the dollar, because we had basically unchecked immigration of unskilled labor and plenty of jobs for unskilled labor if they were willing to work at a penny an hour, which many of the immigrants were. And it's almost a similar situation today. I would say it's a similar situation. It's almost the same situation as we do have today, where we have people that are coming into the country willing to work at $5 an hour. If you really want to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour,
then you won't bring those people in.
Yeah.
And you'll keep it where it is.
Yeah.
Because
you really want to do that.
The happy medium is where it's at right now.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of where it should be right now, I think. Yeah. So that brings up a couple of points. Well,
yeah, so
let's take a tangent real quick, if you don't mind. So, here's some. So, a lot of people, I feel like in our generation, are constantly complaining because the minimum wage, because it was so much easier for like the baby boom generation and generation after that. I can't remember what was that generation. Who was after the baby boomer? Is that Generation X?
Yeah, because like the people after us are as Generation Z.
Yeah, I think it's
X.
I want to say it's
X.
X was the kids of the baby boom generation, I thought. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so it was much easier for those two generations, and they're like, well, the minimum wage at that time had much more buying power than it does now. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, that's true. That's 100% true. What that means is, you, as a teenager, just don't have the same buying power as a teenager did in, like, the 1950s and 60s. Mm-hmm. But also recognize that, like, prices didn't go up really at the same rate as the total economy. Like, if you can buy a song on iTunes right now for, like, $1, whereas, you know, you have to work for... Well, okay. I don't think that analogy is going to come across because I've had too much whiskey for it to make sense.
Well, no. So I mean, like, like, think about that. So if you can buy a song now for $1, like one song is worth $1 to you in 2019, but then back in the 1960s, if one song to you was worth $1, that would be crazy. Like, you would have to love music so freaking much, it'd be unbelievable.
And I don't know how much albums of, like, the Beatles cost back in the day, but, like, they obviously did not cost $1.
No.
They cost a lot less, but people also made a lot less, and
maybe
buying power was
like
a lot
whole record, maybe $1 with like 12 songs in it, something like that.
The point that I'm getting at is that there are more frugal ways of living nowadays than there ever were in the 1950s. I think that's the point I was trying to make with the album thing, which was a dumb analogy. There are more frugal ways to live now than there were back then. There are much more different options for entertainment. I mean, right now, you know, Spotify Premium is $10 a month, and Hulu is like $10 a month. If you really like need premium music and TV, you can pay $20 a month for both of those things. That's not that much in the grand scheme of things of how much you're making, even if you are making minimum wage. It's really not that bad. And I think that there's just this frustrating
like maybe
idea
3 hours of work.
Yeah, exactly. If you really want, out of how many hours, you know, how many hours you work a month. Mm-hmm. Like, if you work 40 hours a week, 120 hours a month, or no, 160 hours a month? My God, I can't math. 160 hours a month, 3 of them you're willing to spend. Like, that seems reasonable.
Yeah.
But, no, I think that there's just this entitlement, and it comes from this idea of everyone gets their fair share kind of thing. It's just, it's unfair that our grandparents or our parents or grandparents had it easier than us. It's like, yeah, they did. That was primarily due to the fact that we had much lower population due to a post-war period. Yeah. We had prosperous times because a lot of places were paying us war reparations. Mm-hmm. We also had a massive amount of development times that was sponsored by the government to try to create suburbs that were very prosperous for the economy and very good in the 1950s. We had plenty of land for it. We don't have that land now. It's been used up. Yeah. I think that it's just people crying about the fact that things are unfair, which is, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you know, so one of the things, I was working with the lady a few weeks ago, and she was saying that for her other job, she was upset because their holiday bonus was based off of how much they worked in a year, not how long they've been with the company. I said, well, and I was like, well, how long have you been with the company? She goes, well, 9 years. I'm like, and how much have you worked this year? Well, like 2 weeks. So you're saying you gave, let's say you, like, on the best side of things, you gave, like, a 9 to 5 every day of the week for 2 weeks. So you worked 80 hours. You gave 80 hours to that company. But you only did that for this year. Yeah. And so that is 40 hours. Well, this is in 2018. You only gave 40 hours in 2018. rather than someone who's worked way more hours, contributed way more to that company in 2018. Why do you get more than them? She goes, I've just been there longer. I'm like, no, sorry, that doesn't cut it. You did not give that company more time than the other person. You don't get as much. That's it.
That's valid if the company values loyalty higher than it values the amount of work put in.
Yeah.
No company will do that for the most part.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't get people that bitch about holiday bonuses. I don't even fucking get one.
I didn't get one. Although, you know what? This is why I love Trump, because so when the tax cuts came out, so I work for Disney, the Walt Disney Company came out and said, you know what? Here's $1,000 bonus to everyone who's been working with us for like at least the past 3 months. Okay. Like, that's amazing. Yeah, let's go. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then I was talking with my dad with this, and he works for 3M, and 3M didn't give out bonuses, and someone that he works with or, around or whatever was saying that she didn't like Trump because the tax breaks didn't do anything for her. And he's like, wait a second, like, my son got $1,000 bonus working with Disney. You didn't, working with 3M. That is between those two companies. That's not because of Trump. What he did. It's because of how those two private entities operated.
Yeah, exactly. I
like,
think
if you're going to get mad at someone, get mad at the company you work for. And then get a new job that will reward you for the work you did.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Very true. And that actually leads me into something, I think we talked about this last time, and I've talked about this on my live show, this is something that frustrates me so much, is when people blame Trump for everything going wrong in their life, except, let me ask you, how much different is your life now from when Obama was president? From December 2016 to now, how has your life really changed? How has it become more difficult? How has it become better? I mean, you may have lost insurance or gained insurance because of Obamacare, the Republican reapportionment of Obamacare, but honestly evaluate that for yourself. How has your life changed? Because you can't really say that Trump is ruining the country if your life is, like, objectively better or objectively worse, or maybe the policies that Trump had no effect at all on your life. That would be the best case scenario. Is that just some guy who you didn't vote for had no effect on your life. How is that a bad thing? And I think that no one is willing to look at their life objectively and say, well, honestly, Trump really didn't affect my life at all. I don't like him, but he didn't affect my life at all. And no one's being honest about that. Yeah. And I think that's really frustrating.
Well, and also, like, you cannot like someone. Like, just...
That's okay.
Simple. Yeah, that's
You're allowed to not like people.
You're allowed to
As much as kindergarten might have taught you have to love everyone, you're allowed to just dislike people.
Yeah.
Nothing happens. The world doesn't end. Okay, that person doesn't come after you. You just don't like them.
Yeah.
End of story.
That's it. You're done.
That's it. You're...
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So, I think that a lot of people blame things outside of their control for problems in their life. And I think one of the most empowering things that you can ever hear, and to me it's huge, I love hearing this, is realizing that no one gives a shit about your life.
Yeah.
Literally, no one cares. And that's like the best thing that I ever realized, is that no one gives a shit what I do or what I use my life for.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody cares. I mean, really. That's great, because it means you have full control over what your life is and what you do with it. I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think that's something you can really only find really in, like, free countries. I mean, really.
Yeah, like the 2 or 3 that exist.
I mean, really just the one.
Well,
Poland is doing all right.
Poland's doing good. Brazil is on its way.
Dude, okay, does that new Brazilian president or whatever, does he not look like Ben Shapiro?
He does.
Tell me he does not.
But like more masculine Ben Shapiro. But yeah, Poland, Brazil, and of course the U.S. we're at the...
The U.S. is always the...
Oh yeah.
Okay, this is something I've argued with several coworkers about. we are the only country with freedom of speech guaranteed in our founding document.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no other country has been established.
So many of my coworkers have been like, no, there's other countries. Like, most of the European countries, I'm like, no, they have laws stating that, but those are very easily amendable laws. Canada just changed one of those laws. This is a, like, founding document stating that the government cannot impede your right to say what you want within reason.
Exactly.
And actually, we've talked about those reasons on my live show. But, yeah, I mean, this is the only country. And you're welcome to look at the founding documents of Canada, of Sweden, of Norway, of Germany, of France, of Britain, whatever you want.
Do your research, please.
I beg you to do it, because then you wouldn't say stupid shit like we're not the only country with freedom of speech guaranteed in our founding document, which we are.
Yeah, we are.
100% we are. It's not even a question.
And I know that, back again, to the dinner that Sam and I were at, like, I talked about this too, like, probably the best thing I've learned from Jordan Peterson, more than getting my life together, all of that stuff, is his interpretation of the Bible, which is, in my opinion, the best document that's ever been written in the history of ever.
Amen. Hallelujah, brother.
Right, but and I talked about in Genesis, and like it says, like, the in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. It's like, well, what does, like when I was a kid and I was in Catholic school, I was like, what the heck does that even mean? That's stupid. Yeah. Like, why would you, like, that doesn't make any sense. But then now, like, thinking about it and listening to Jordan Peterson, it was like, well, in the beginning was the Word. So the spoken word was, like, the very beginning of the universe. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So it's like God spoke things into being using speech. So, like, to me, that just, like, that means that the freedom of speech is the thing that, like, puts things into being, and that has to be the most important thing that you actually, that like how is that not the most important thing in your life? It is the thing that, like, speaks things into being, and the thing that, like, speaks things into actuality. You know, that's why we need the freedom of speech so bad, because you can't talk about things if it's illegal to.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah. I think you placed it out perfectly for why the First Amendment is so important. So I'm going to transition a little bit off of that. So the First Amendment is so important, and a lot of people say that the Second Amendment defends the First. I would say it does 1,000,000%. How do you feel about Trump banning bump stocks? I'll give my opinion on it in a minute.
Please.
Or do you want me to give my opinion?
Yeah.
Here's my deal.
Formulated my idea.
So, it's basically a way to play the other side. It's art of the deal is what Trump is doing, because you don't need a bump stock to bump. Bumping is just a technique where you just allow the rifle, the recoil from the shot to bounce off your shoulder, and then you leave your finger in the same spot so that when the recoil bounces off your shoulder and goes forward, then your finger hits the trigger and pulls the trigger. So then you just use the recoil to make your shots faster. That's all bumping is. You can do it literally with one finger off of your shoulder. Like, there's videos of people doing it and then making jokes of, like, oh, now I have to, the NRA just called me and now I have to serialize my finger. There's such a funny video about that. I'll show you that after we're done. But, yeah, so that's the thing is, like, all Trump had to do was, like, ban bump stocks, which really didn't do a lot because it just kind of helped you bump. That's all it did. If you just learn how and practice it, you can bump really easily.
Yeah, so it's like an actual technique.
But all that did was it got Democrats to just ignore the issue of guns that they were going after so hard.
But you know what? So actually quite a few of my left-leaning friends on Facebook, like, shared that he banned it, and he was, and all of them were saying, like, oh, finally a step in the right direction, finally something I can be proud of.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know how bad he's playing them.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's technique. Okay, we'll get rid of the thing that makes it easy for you to do the technique. You know?
Yeah, but you can still do it.
Yeah, you can still do it.
any rifle that has a stock.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not difficult at all. I gotta show you that video, Johnny.
Yeah,
I'll show it to you.
Yeah. But yeah, so, but the only thing that the one reservation I have, and I will have to think about this, is him playing the Constitution as a political, like, sort of leverage.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I'm kind of uneasy about. I mean, I know
That's
that you
fair.
can do it, but I'm not entirely sure that you should do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think that's definitely a fair criticism. Again, I think that it's not a big deal because you don't need a bump stock to bump, and all it did was get Democrats to just leave the gun issue alone. And when have we heard a major Democrat talking about the need to ban guns since then?
I mean, since the recent, like, the latest mass shooting, you know, it is only like a week after a mass shooting that they'll talk about it, and then they'll drop it.
Yeah. Yeah. And when was the last time you heard about the March for Our Lives and stuff like that? Like, you haven't heard of it at all because Trump banned bump stocks that apparently, you know, made all firearms auto instead of fully semi-automatic. Like, which is another thing that I could totally get into. Is the whole,
you
like,
and I both,
fully semi-automatic. And I'm like, oh, you fucking idiots. Anyway, yeah, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Read Art of the Deal, and you will understand every single thing that Trump has ever done.
Yeah.
In his presidency.
Yeah. Well, and I also think about the bump stocks. It like, bringing it back to someone at the beginning here. It's like with the marijuana. Like, he's not banning guns. You know, he's not like legalizing all of marijuana. He is purposely like saying, okay, like THC. Okay, maybe we're banning that. Maybe we're not making that legal yet. With bump stocks, he's not making guns illegal. He's not making assault rifles illegal. He's like singling out a very specific component of whatever you want to call it, whether it's marijuana or guns or whatever. He's singling out that and saying, okay, that's not going to happen anymore. But the actual, like, and so in that way, he's causing the left to go, oh, I guess he shares some values with us.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, he's like, yeah, these things actually don't matter.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
So
I think this is another play just like the hemp, where he's playing the left and he's winning, because I have seen people with the hemp and the bump stocks both like in favor of Trump's decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think really to win in the 2020 election, if he runs on legalizing marijuana and all the Democrats have to do is pick a really progressive candidate, so not like a Joe Biden, or not even like, did you see the Elizabeth Warren video? That video was so like, hello fellow kids, like it was so bad. But anyway,
yeah, the Steve Buscemi with the skateboard.
Yeah,
yep.
It's literally like her just like, hello fellow working class.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you've not represented the working class ever.
In my like $5 million mansion.
Actually, no. So as long as the Democrats pick a crazy progressive, to run for them,
Elizabeth Warren, please run.
If they pick someone like that, if they don't pick like a Joe Biden or like, I would say Joe Biden might be the only one. Maybe Elizabeth Warren, maybe Chuck Schumer, maybe Nancy Pelosi.
I wouldn't even say maybe Bernie. He has such a huge fan base, dude.
Well, I'm saying other than these three. So other than people that are considered like, as long as they don't pick one of those like three people, maybe I'm missing one or two, like Michelle Obama.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Michelle, if you're listening, please run.
As long as the Democrat Party doesn't pick one of those, all the Republicans have to do is get a soundbite of the candidate just saying something crazy like, yes, we should take away all guns. That's all they have to do, and they will win the election. Because all of the people that consider themselves Democrat, that nowadays are basically not Democrats because they're not this ridiculous progressive ideology. And there's got to be at least 1 million of them out there. I mean, most people that consider themselves Democrats outside of like college campuses really aren't modern Democrats. They're more of the old school, like they're more of the Blue Dog Democrats. They're more like Kennedy types, JFK types. And really, the Democrat Party is not that anymore. It has not represented that ideology basically since Lyndon B. Johnson. I mean, you could make the argument for Carter, maybe, but outside of Carter, I mean, it's really tough to say that. Again, maybe Clinton, maybe, but outside of those, it's like, really all you have to do is get a bunch of Democrats to do what Dave Rubin did, is realize that this ridiculous progressive ideology is like a cancer on your party, and you have to get them away from your party and be like, oh, well, I don't like Trump, but you know what he said? He's going to legalize marijuana. That's great.
Yeah.
He says he's going to, have reasonable gun restrictions. That's great. Mm-hmm. And the Republicans are going to win in a landslide. I don't think it's even very difficult. So
I think you're right on that. I mean, if they can, if someone of the somewhat center left can recognize, like the issues at hand, and sort of think, like in terms of like logical issues where they can rationalize between. I know it's hard for the left to rationalize. I understand that, but I mean, like with like I said, with the hemp, the bump stocks, like if they see that and they say, oh well, okay, I guess he's actually doing stuff that I want,
Yeah.
And then when they see like the Elizabeth Warren and the, like you said, like Joe Biden types, are like, wait, that's kind of too radical. Because even I'm like starting to realize this, that some people on the right are too radical for me.
Yeah.
Like, well, okay, maybe, yeah. Like, or a case that they would be willing to meet in the middle.
Yeah. Know? No, I do think, yeah, I agree. I just let me know if I'm saying what you were saying wrong. But like, basically, the people that would support an Elizabeth Warren or like a Joe Biden would probably look at one of these crazy extreme leftists like Ocasio-Cortez or
that's
Beto O'Rourke or like all these people that a lot of people are saying are going to run in 2020. I think they would look at them and be like, oh my god, like this is not what a Democrat is.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
They would eventually vote for Trump because they had no other choice. Mm-hmm. Because Trump might align with one or two of their viewpoints, and I think that's where the line would be drawn.
Either like, maybe they won't vote for Trump, but they won't vote for the main Democratic candidate.
Yeah,
which is enough.
Yeah, they'll vote Green Party. They'll vote Libertarian.
Sure, do it.
I hope they would. Yeah. Honestly, let's make this the last topic we're talking about, because we're running a little long on time. Where are we at for this recording? About an hour and a half. Okay. So, let's talk about this. Do you think that we need more third-party representation? And I guess a corollary with that would be, is it even feasible?
I don't think it's feasible right now. And I'm not sure we do. I think we need more people like Trump to come in from the quote-unquote far right and just kind of like start over here and wipe everyone out. And then he's making his way towards the center.
Yeah, he is.
He is. He gradually but surely. I mean, you have the wall that puts him more on the right, but then you have the hemp that puts him more on the left. The bump stocks puts him more on the left,
And the gay marriage stuff.
The gay marriage stuff.
He could not give less of a fuck about gay marriage.
He does not care.
He was in support openly of gay marriage before Hillary Clinton was and before Barack Obama was.
Like, so you have these... So I think that, in a way, it is possible for more... I honestly think Trump is more of an independent than he is a Republican. Because
100%.
Especially for, like, the legislation he's pushing.
He was a member of the Democratic Party of New York for most of his life. Yeah. He was a donor to the Bill Clinton campaign. He was both years that he ran. He was a donor to Gore. He was a donor to Kerry, and he was a donor to Clinton in 2008.
Yeah. So I think it is possible for someone like him. Of course, that's very hard to be like Donald Trump,
Yeah.
But so I think it is possible to come at it from one side or another and kind of like meander your way to the center.
Yeah.
So I think that's possible, but I don't think it's possible for someone to come out and say, "I'm in the middle of everything," and then people are like, maybe you are, but I don't initially want what they want. Yeah. Like I'm not going to vote in 2020 for like 50% of the things that the left wants. You know?
Yeah.
And I think that is how people vote.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's how I voted. I was like, I don't want what they want. Screw that. But then now I'm like, oh, they legalize hemp. I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand. Yeah,
why not?
Bump stocks, art of the deal.
Why not?
Yeah. Oh shit, I have to go.
Okay. So that'll be it for this podcast. I think Johnny put a pretty good bow on it. So thank you very much for listening to this first episode of Thinkin and Drinkin on A Bit Too Much to Think. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't have way too much whiskey, though I know I absolutely did. If any sponsors are interested, preferably alcohol, Coors Light need not apply. But thank you very much for listening, and have a great day. And think a little bit too much.